morning, everybody. Last week was, I feel like, more for the girls. So this week, I was like, let's go for the boys. And since it was a 90s classic, I kept with that. So, what has every boy in my life ever fucking told me I needed to watch? It's fucking Tombstone. We're doing Tombstone tonight, guys.
Have you ever watched this before?
I have never seen this movie before.
Uh, okay. I'm just learning about myself because I never had the inclination to even check. I apparently absolutely hate Westerns. I hated this. I hated it so much. I don't ask me what happens. I don't know. Bullets, yelling, drinking, card games, lots of
I gotta tell you what,
mustaches.
man.
You're
For
gonna have to hold I'm not even gonna hold you. You're gonna have to spearhead this whole thing because I cannot. Who was anyone? I don't know.
I
I don't
promise
know.
you, I don't even blame you because for like I said, every man I've ever known in my life, including like parents and everything, it was
Even
fucking
B.
Tombstone. How have you not seen Tombstone?
B
You
was
gotta
so
watch
excited.
Tombstone.
He was like, "Yeah,
And
it's a great movie."
I was just like, why is this 2 hours long? I could kind of get behind it. It had some moments where I
Was
was
it
just like,
2 hours? I
it
couldn't.
was too
I was
much.
watching it on
2 hours
Paramount
is way
Plus.
too much.
I
It
was
was
watching it.
unnecessary.
Paramount Plus is one of the worst streaming services out there for their like actual interface. And I could, when you press like pause, like normally any other streaming service, you press pause and it'll pop up the screen, like how much you, it doesn't do that on Paramount Plus. It's just a blue bar with the little thing. And I'm like,
Mine
no
shows it.
wonder, no wonder I felt like I was like
It's
stuck in
forever.
a time loop forever watching this fucking movie. Because I was like, I don't even know. And I was so frustrated. I was like, I'm not even gonna look. It's just it's over when it's over. Like I
Yeah. It was so now we'll just yeah, it didn't need to be 2 hours. We'll go over this. So it's set if you come in on a little tiny black and white western happening and with Sam Elliott, who I will say still one of the sexiest men alive. Like
see, I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about right
okay. So in the movie, so we hear his voice right now. You automatically recognize it if you know who Sam Elliott is. But in the movie, he was the oldest brother, Virgil,
now.
with
Oh,
the
that
big
dude.
mustache.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
find him attractive
Oh
at
my
all.
god,
He
I
is so
still find him attractive. He's like
total
90
Kiki.
now.
I'm not a Kiki person. I'm a total boba person. He is
Oh,
like the definition of Kiki, and
I
he
have
looks
no.
so
What the
gross to me.
hell is Kiki and Boba?
Oh my fucking God. All right. I'll have to send you a picture. But Kiki and Boba, it was actually this I want to say it was like a linguist or some scientist who came up with the idea of Kiki and Boba, not related to attractiveness or like appearance or anything at all. Kiki is like spiky. It's like a blob, but it's like spiky. Okay.
Mm.
Boba is a blob, but it's like rounded shapes. Okay. So like I want to say it was like a linguist was saying, some like languages and words are like spiky and some of them are rounded like boba. Well, then the fangirlies got a hold of this and we realized that most people are either Kiki or Boba, not just in like physical appearance. So physical appearance, Kiki would be like super sharp jaw lines, like built, like deep facial features, that kind of stuff. And Boba would be people who have like rounder facial features who aren't as like super, they don't like they're cut from marble. And then a Kiki personality is kind of aggressive, kind of like not like spiky in a bad way, but just like type A kind of. And then Boba is not that. Boba's a lot softer and da da da. And most people fall into one of the attractions. So people are attracted to either the Kiki, the Greek gods, or people are attracted to Boba. Like you might think that shit, what the fuck is his name? He was in Tom Hardy. You might think Tom Hardy is a Kiki, but Tom Hardy's not a Kiki. Tom Hardy is fully Boba. He's weird, he's soft, he might have like the facial structure of a Kiki, but he's not a Kiki, he's Boba. right? Henry Cavill is a full Kiki. The way he looks, everything, full Kiki, cut from the gods. I and that dude, the Sam, whoever, that he's a Kiki. He's severe.
But I would put Henry Cavill maybe looks wise Kiki, but Boba personality. He doesn't have the harshness.
Yeah, and that's kind of up to personal interpretation because I also know a lot about Henry Cavill and he freaks me the fuck out as a person. He said a lot of really weird things and he dates very young women. So that
Yeah.
freaks me out. So I am not fully putting him in Boba because he reminds me of like the really gross D&D dudes, you know, that make
Yeah.
everything kind of uncomfortable. I feel like that's him. And to me, because I don't like Kiki, I tend to shove into Kiki
Hey
because I'm
man,
like,
let me shoving people over here.
you can have him. I don't want him. He doesn't belong over here. But anyway, what I'm saying is the Sam guy is total Kiki. So anytime I've ever seen him in anything, I'm like, nah,
Oh. So
no.
you describing this makes me be like, yeah, I think Kiki's my type. And looks
I could have called that.
not always looks wise, but definitely personality type. Like cinnamon buns, I can be very like, oh, you're very cute. But I'm very much like, I need that Kiki in my life to like slap me
And
around a
see, but then
little
that's
bit.
also the thing is like it, and it's not so cut and dry. Um, because like B is full boba, but he also has that other like a more dominant side. Like not just like in the bedroom, but just like like he sets up in a more like traditional gender role in our house, but it's because I allow him to do that. He just
Yeah.
it's not just because he wants to, it's because I'm like, all right, you do all that. But he's still full boba. Like he you can be dominant but not be like I don't know how I don't think I'm explaining it well, but you can be dominant and not be like super aggressive about
I
it.
think that would be in me. I think I'm pretty like chill until I don't need to be chill anymore. And then it's like,
Oh
no,
yeah, I can go off.
you know what I mean?
I can go off
I think
100%.
I would fit more Boba. Jay's definitely Kiki,
Yeah,
like
Jay's Kiki, and that, yeah, you
all
can,
the
yeah,
way.
all you, all you. Actually, most of my friends lean towards Kiki. I'm thinking I'm one of the only ones that's like, no, give me boba or give me death. Like, I,
Look,
you guys
that's
look
how
weird.
boring this movie was. This conversation's better,
More
guys. Don't even
interesting.
worry about it. This
I hate this
conversation is way more
movie.
interesting because I know you guys are probably like, can we get back to the Cowboys? You don't need to,
I don't want to talk
honestly.
about the guy.
You don't fucking need to. All right. So we'll get back on track. Samuel A. Boyd setting up that the biggest gang ever, is the Wild West, lawlessness, the biggest Tombstone's there. It's popping in Tombstone, and cowboys have created this massive gang that the United States has ever fucking seen.
Yeah, and
Set
they're
movie now
killing all the
coming
people of
in.
color.
Yeah, now we're in color, and you're at a wedding, and you're in Mexico, definitely, or at least like what used to be Mexico, but it's like a Mexican wedding was happening.
Yeah, maybe closer to Texas or something like that
Yeah,
weird that gray area
because
before the
Tombstone's
United
supposed to be
States
in
took it.
Arizona, and I mean I know Mexico was up there a ways, before Texas and all that
Yeah, I
happened.
don't know my
I'm just
history
not sure
well
on the
enough.
dates of the Alamo and shit like that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
have
this
no
is
idea.
very Mexican in setting, definitely a Mexican wedding, and the cowboys are coming in, and it's all the classic scenes. And this character, I never got his fucking name. I think it might have been Billy, but I called him Mr. Fancy Boots because that is when it looked up on his boots and he had playing cards on his boots. So I was like, Mr. Fancy Boots. He's the leader of the
There is a
gang.
Billy. There is a Billy throughout.
I
I
think
remember
he's
that
Billy.
name because
Yeah.
I immediately thought of like old school. Like the only people from the West I know, one of them was named like Bill or something. I was like, hey, I know
Yeah.
that guy.
I know him.
So
So he
yeah, it was
comes with
probably
his
Billy.
gang, and it's about to be a shootout. People are like, ooh, looking around and stuff. And then he pulls out two sashes because the Cowboys are known for their red sashes they wear, which, if you don't know, a sash is a belt type scarf. And he hands out two and he's like, "You've killed our boys," and then just popping off. Everyone's getting shot. People running, kids screaming, everyone goes down. And they're like, "All right, boys, we fucking did it." And they pull out
Zero
the
chivalry. Zero chivalry. You,
oh, none.
everybody gets the smoke.
Oh,
Jesus
everyone's
Christ.
getting if you're in the way, you're fucking dying. Sorry about it. And so clearly very bad guys. They pull out the groom. He must have been, because I think they were cops, the Mexican side, because they made a joke about being like, "Oh, y'all the lawmakers and stuff." And then he was like, "Get on your knees." And the one guy was translating, and he was like, "He's not going to get on his knees. He's too proud." So they were like, "Well, someone make him get on his knees," and they shoot out his knee. And then they pretty much, there's a little more chit chat. They kill him. They drag the wife off to be raped and killed, and then they eat the wedding feast.
Didn't
And
they say something else to him too? And he like translated, and then one of the other guys in the gang was like, "That's not what they fucking said."
well, the pastor was there, and he's yelling at them in Spanish, and the one guy's like, "I don't know, he's talking crazy, talking about a fucking horse and some shit, or death coming on a horse. It doesn't make any sense." And then the other guy's like, "That's not what he said. Your Spanish is worse than your fucking English." And he
Yeah.
just kind of leaves it at that. So then once they're eating the wedding meal, he's like, what was that fucking crazy pastor saying?" And he asked the guy. And I want to say that guy's name was like Ripley or something like that. He had a weird name. It
Yeah.
but it was a name that I knew of, like whenever I heard people talking about cowboys, that name's been said before. And so I was like, "Oh." And then but he's already set himself up to be the smart one. He talked about it, he was saying Revelations, death comes on a white horse, and it's supposed to be like, "Ooh." And then cut to man on a train. Um, and while he's on the train, it was some U.S. Marshals come up and they're like, "Hey, Earp," and he's like, "Nope, fuck off, fuck right off. I want nothing to do with you." And then a guy is beating a horse on the train. He walks over, and I will say this was the part where I was like, "Fucking get him." He walks over without really even saying anything, just yanks the whip out of the dude's hands, slaps the shit out of him with it, and goes, "It hurt, didn't it? Get out of here." And then like takes his horse. So he just steals his horse. Like, so I will say, I mean, that was pretty fucking Wild West. I'll give him that. That was great. So this is the Great White Earp. And I will admit right now, the only reason I know who Wyatt Earp is because of the show Winona Earp, which is where if you took Supernatural and put cowboys with it, I
I
love
couldn't
the
figure
show. It's a
out.
great show.
I couldn't figure out where I knew that name from. I think
Hey,
Winona
go.
I think Winona Earp's been on my like to watch list for a while, and I just haven't gotten to it because I was like, I who the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah,
how
it's
could
pretty
I
good.
have possibly ever heard your name?
And you get Doc Holliday in that one too. So so that so I had already some of this cowboy lore in my head because of that show. So he's stealing his horse now, and these two guys are like, "I don't know that sour pills from anybody," and it is. He's like, "Hey," so it's Russell Crowe, right? That plays Wyatt Earp. I want to say that was
No,
Russell Crowe.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It was Kurt Russell playing Wyatt Earp, a retired sheriff or lawman
I
who
think he
doesn't
was
want to
a
do.
was he a full like not Texas Ranger. What were they called?
No, he wasn't Marshall.
Marshal. I think he was a full marshal.
Yeah. And then you have the two men running, they're like, "Ah," and you figure out it's their brother. So you have the older brother who's played by Sam Elliott. And if you just think of any Western ever, Sam Elliott's been in
A
it. He's
stupid
always the
fucking
grumpy,
mustache.
oh yeah, he's mustache, and he's
Big
the
as
grumpy white guy that's just always there. The stoic one. And then you got this actually had a lot of the Titanic cast in it, because the guy playing the younger brother was definitely in Titanic, and but I couldn't think of his fucking character of who he played in Titanic, but his voice was so like, "You were in fucking Titanic, I know it." So, but I don't know his name. Oh no, he was in Twister. He's the main guy from Twister.
is he?
Yes. So he's the youngest brother, and then they're all introducing their wives, and they're all pretty and blonde. and Wyatt introduces his wife, and she has a headache and she's taking fucking laudanum, which I was like, oh man, back in the day, getting the good shit, just
Fucking crap, a
from your
full
buddy.
fucking bottle of
Oh
it, like
yeah,
a liquor
like
bottle.
um, and so they're all greeting each other, and they look in the mirror and they're like, "We're gonna do it, boys. We're starting a business, families together, great." And then they mentioned Doc, and the one guy's like, I hope he's not here." And they were like, "Oh, I think he's funny." And then cut over to a man playing poker and winning. And this is Doc Holliday. He clearly looks very sickly. Um, and he has a woman on his lap, and he's a Southern gentleman, and he has the like twang to it, and he talks very frilly.
The only good character in this whole fucking movie.
Oh, I love Doc Holliday. Loved
Oh,
him.
okay. So Morgan Earp, who is the youngest brother, he's the guy in Titanic who is the one looking for the Titanic. He's
Yes.
the scientist
Yes.
guy or the
The
explorer
sign.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Doc Holliday is the only person I was paying attention to in this whole fucking
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I
I
legitimately
wanted more Doc through this entire thing. Like I know Russell was supposed to be your main ew, but Doc was stealing the show all the way.
I legitimately forgot how attractive what's his face Val Kilmer used to be before he started getting all those fucking surgeries. Like I had to Google it. Like I Googled him and I was like, no way, that's not Val Kilmer. I know what Val Kilmer looks like. He looks like he went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. Like, no, that's not what he looks like.
I
And then
want
I
to see
looked
him
up
currently.
now I looked up old pictures and I was like, oh shit, no wonder all the little girlies were fawning over him back in the day.
And I will say, holy
Yeah,
shit.
that's what I'm saying. I was like, God damn, that's not the same person. It is though. It's the same
Oh
person.
my God.
That's what happens when Hollywood gets into your head. It makes you put a bunch of shit in your face.
See, these are the ones I feel so bad because I'm not against plastic surgery. Do not ever get, hey man, I want some myself. But like, you had these
You got
people who are
fucked up.
the world's most beautiful people. That's why they're in these movies. Like,
Right, but the
they,
surgery at the
but
time
they
was
don't
not
see
good
that in
enough.
themselves. And that is the saddest thing to me. Like,
Yeah. And it's not even, well, I just said it's the surgery back then was very terrible and it was, but it's also you also see it a lot with like modern day actors, like the
oh yeah,
buccal buckle whatever fat removal, which is the fat right here, like underneath your cheekbones that people are getting sucked out and then they look like they're taking them from
yeah.
Boba to Kiki and it just looks fucking weird. Yeah, anyway, yeah, he's the only good part of this whole fucking movie.
Well, I loved him. I loved his character, but I will say he's not sexy to me. And especially,
I like his attitude.
yeah. Oh, I love his attitude. If you, hmm, I was gonna say this the Virgil attitude on that, but then I was like, no, 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 it wasn't. It
It
wouldn't
wouldn't
be.
work.
It wouldn't work at all. No, no.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he's playing his hand, and the guy's getting pissy because he's like, "You're cheating." He's like, he has some pretty good lines here too, because he ends up having to pull out his guns, and he's like, "I'd hate if we weren't friends. Are you telling me we're not friends?" And the guy's
Yeah.
kind of like, and he's like, puts his gun down. He's like, so what I'm hearing is we are friends. And the guy goes to like grab the money, and he just grabs him and shanks his ass. And then the girl picks up the gun. She's like, don't fucking try it. None of you bitches. And then they just take all the money and run off. And you're just like, they love each other. It's great. And he's badass too with his southern gentleman. I'll be your huckleberry.
That,
Like,
I don't understand what that means, but okay. I'm
I
here
don't
for it.
either. But so it goes back to Wyatt and his brothers, and they're officially like walking into town, and a man's like, I'm the sheriff of this county. Welcome. How can I help you folks? Pretty much. And they're like, we just got here, so fucking I know. And he's like, well, you looking for houses? You looking for a job? You looking I own everything. So what
Yeah,
are
what
we
are you
talking pretty
doing?
much? And they're like, well, we are looking for houses. So perfect. Great. Show us the fucking cottages. But then they're walking through town, and Virgil's met another man who's the marshal of the town. He's like, I just met another sheriff. And he's like, that guy doesn't do anything. and he's an older man. And so he's walking, he's showing, he's like, we got like 100 fucking saloons. So if you're in the business for salooning, we got you.
Right.
And they're like,
Except
well,
that one.
everywhere's kind of popping except that place. And they called
Yep.
it the Oriental, which is inappropriate
Yikes.
now. Yikes. And so Wyatt goes, that's my place. And he goes in there and he's like, I'll take a cigar. And Wyatt Earp is famous for what he did in for being a marshal. So everyone, like, when they hear his name, the guy's like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Wyatt Earp. And the guy's like, okay. And he's like, okay. And he's like, hey, why is your place so fucking empty? And he's like, Carl over there, I don't fucking know what Carl's name is. Carl over there busted in here one day, just decided he's gonna fucking work here and scared everyone off because he's such a dickbag.
Yeah, and he's literally back there yelling at
Oh yeah,
people
he's like,
and
stop
like
all the time,
grabbing
okay?
people.
Put down another motherfucking queen, I want to shoot your ass. And so he's like, so that's why aren't you firing him? He's like, nobody else is here to do the job, so what am I gonna
Yeah, and
do?
how are you gonna get that guy out?
Right?
What,
He's like,
what
what
are
the
you
fuck do you
supposed
want
to
me to do
do?
about it? So he's like, I'll take care of it for you. Walks over there. He's like, hey, you're in my seat. And the guy's like, hey, fucking excuse me? He's like, I said you're in my fucking seat. And he's like, I know you ain't. He's like, fucking jump, froggy leap. And
Yeah.
he says some funny stuff here that I didn't really write down, but he ends up like slapping the shit out of him. He's like, boy, pull your gun, slap, go and do it, slap. Like, dude's lip is bleeding. He's like, you just gonna stand there, or are you gonna walk away pretty much like, uh, oh, he says, skin that smoke wagon and see what happens, and then just slap the fuck out of him, and then say,
What
and
does that mean?
I was like, holy shit. So the guy ends up running off, and he has his job now. He's like, you're fucking welcome. I'll be taking 25% of the house. Great. And it goes back out to his brothers, and he's like, I got a fucking job, guys. Yay. And then you see the guy that he just scared off come back with a shotgun, and he's like roaming through people, and he finds them, and before he can be like, shoot him in the face, Doc's like, Bobby, what you doing? And he's like, Doc? And then he like, Wyatt turns around, they're like, hey, and they're hugging each other and stuff. And then fucking Doc Holiday goes, oh, Bobby, I forgot you were standing there. You
Yeah.
can go now. Why?
And leave the gun. You
Oh yeah,
leave the
like,
shotgun.
and leave the gun.
And
Thank
he
you.
tries to like actually hand it to them and he's like, no, just leave it. It
Just
makes him
drop
like
it.
put it on the ground and then scuttle away.
Embarrassing. Like, I'd leave town if I was Bobby. Like, how do you even look at yourself in the mirror after that much of a pitching out? Jesus. So, oh, I also wrote like, damn it, man, your wife's right there, because this is a big prostitute town also, and these men are like just flirting with hey baby, while your wife is like right there. And
Everywhere.
then, oh, because this is the scene where the fancy wagon pulls up, and the main guy from Titanic, the shithead husband, or fiance, gets out. He's all very friendly, and he's helping a woman out. And she's like, I want me one of those. And he's like, well, fucking happy hunting. And they're staring back at her like, holy shit. And I'm like, your wives are right there. Like, fucking crimes, man. just watching you do this stuff. Uh so then it cuts to the show that night. They're like in at the show,
Oh, it's like a some
and
kind
the
of
guy comes
weird.
out to juggle, and he's like, I know this guy, he catches things, catch this, and starts shooting. And they're like, he's shooting, and he like runs out. And then the actor guy comes out, and he starts like reciting Shakespeare and shit. And I will say, they slipped in a very beautiful LGBT couple here. because there's a guy in the audience and they're like, ah, you like that, Billy? And I'm like, come on, why else would you be like, hey, Billy? If Billy wasn't the gay one, like they're poking fun
Possibly.
at him. But he
Yeah.
is like, he's like, I do like that. Thank
Yeah.
you for pointing
Yeah.
that out. And he's like captivated by him. And actually, everyone ends up, which I was just like, I mean, honestly, you're going to tell me the dumb cowboys would prefer to hear Shakespeare than to watch the dude juggle? I just don't believe it. I do not believe it.
I mean,
And then they do,
possibly. I don't know. Possibly.
blah. And then they do like a
Possibly, yeah.
whole like Shakespearean kind of devil play, like with masks.
They did the Faustian bargain. They did the Faust, where
Yeah,
Faust is making the bargain with the devil. Yeah, because one, I do remember one of them in as the like the devil comes out. One of them, because they're like, "What the fuck is happening?" at first, and then one of them looks to the other one and goes, "Oh, that's Faust." And I was like, "You guys know about Faust?" Like, I
right.
guess,
Like
but like, how much do y'all read?
how
Like,
well read are these cowboys? Like, so they watch it and they're just captivated. They fucking love this shit. And then they're like, who was playing the devil? And oh, it was the hot woman. And Wyatt is once again fucking drooling while his wife is like, here, dear, let me dab that for you.
yeah, and while she's thinking in her head, I am so going to get absolutely obliterated tonight.
Oh yeah. So
That might
they're
be why
leaving
she don't
there.
care.
Yeah, they're leaving there, and she's like, Wyatt, I want you to come home. Well, the one girl is like, me and Virgil gonna go get fucking freaky. Wyatt's like, I gotta go to work. And the wife's like, no, don't go to work. He's like, I gotta fucking work. And then she's like,
Yeah,
just whatever.
what a
We're
fucking
done.
weird thing to say. Don't go to work. Then
Well,
you
he
go to
has to
work.
go to work. He has to go deal.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But then he's like, no, I can come home if you want. And she's like, no, don't even fucking, don't do anything for me, asshole. Like, they really make her character kind of a bitch. Like,
She's so annoying.
yeah, she's a really big bitch. So she ends up huffing away, and him and little brother go off to work, and they're in the bar where he's dealing, and Doc's in there, and he's like, so if she walked in talking about the actress right now, you'd say no, and he's like, everyone got to grow up sometime, Doc. And then the actress walks in, and he's like, I'm gonna remember you fucking said that. And everyone's like clapping and stuff, and they're dancing with her, and she comes near Wyatt, and he's kind of like, turn away, like. And I'm like, okay, well, at least he's trying. And she's kind of like, oh man. And then the main snooty sheriff guy starts dancing with her and takes her away. And Doc's like, all right, you did it. Good job. And he kind of walks away. And then it kind of cuts to him actually dealing at a table. And that's when the cowboys come over and the one was like, no lawman needs to be around here. And Wyatt's like, I ain't a lawman. And look, you won $500. There you go. And Billy, the head guy, well, Billy Fancy Boots, the head guy, takes the money. He's like, okay. But his partner, Wrigley, Wrigley, I don't think that's his name, but that's what my mind took away from whatever his name is. Sees Doc and he's like, starts talking shit pretty much to him, and Doc's like talking it right back. And then he starts speaking in Latin, which Wrigley then starts speaking in Latin. He's like, you're an educated man. I fucking hate you. I've decided I hate you. So, and then Wrigley does this gun trick. He's like, and then
Stupid.
gets it in his holster, and everyone's like, oh, well done. And then Doc looks at him, and Doc's been drinking. Doc's a huge drunk. And he starts flipping his cup around, like, and then puts his cup at his holster, and everyone's like, ah, and okay, tension broke, walk away. Okay, cool. And then it cuts to another scene.
I don't know.
There's a lot of scene cuts.
Yeah, it's a constant, and I
Oh
can't
yeah,
keep them straight.
I
Don't
know. I
ask
have to
me.
look down. Hold on. Oh, then it's the next day, and Wyatt is riding out in the woods. And who does he come across? Hot actress. And he's like, fucking A, man. And she's like, hey, baby. And he's like, well, I did good last night. I will not be doing good today. And they end up talking, and his horse is trying to hump her horse. And he's like, we should probably separate so the horses don't get all weird. And she's like, let's run it out of them. And they start running, and he's like, God bless it. And I'm like, yeah, here we go. Here we go. So they run, and I love this scene where like they stop at what you it looks like a cliff, right? And he's like, oh, no more road. And she's like, you pussy. And then she starts giggling and like, hiya. And then when the camera pans out, it's like a little hill. It
Yeah, it's a
wasn't
weird
like that
cut.
fucking dramatic. And they're like, he's like, you could have killed us. I'm like, I feel like you're being dramatic right now. So then they end up having like this little picnic. And she comes in hard with like well, what do you want out of life? Are you even fucking happy? And he's like, feelings. Let's not chat about that. What are you doing, woman?
Like you don't even fucking know me. What the? You saw me like this is like the third time you've ever seen me. What?
Yeah. And so, but she's like, pretty much like, I want to travel the world. I want to be free, not like other women. And he's like, no, I want a family. I want a normal life. And she's like, no, you fucking don't. And he's like, yeah, I do. You don't fucking know me. Shut up. And like, cut scene now. He's home. He's packing. He wife has clearly been crying, like face crying.
Did she just take a drink?
Yeah,
Didn't
and
it
she's
show her like
chugging the
taking a big
laudanum.
ass
Yeah,
drink?
huge chug of the laudanum. And he's like, is that even the same bottle anymore? And she's like, fuck you. And he's like, all right, well, I'm just saying. And then he's like, hey, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fucking fine. And but then he like jumps on her like, let's cuddle, babe, because you said you were good. And I'm like, really? You think the woman who's clearly been fucking crying
Well,
and is
she's
like,
doing this weird thing where she's like laughing because he says something about it being opium. So whatever she has is mixed with opium, and she starts fucking like doing this weird laugh. He asks if she's okay, and she starts like giggling and saying, "Yeah, I'm
oh
fine."
yeah,
Like it's such a weird. She's sending off 5 million different signals. So I don't
oh,
blame a man from that time period of being like, "Oh, okay, that's the go ahead."
of that
You
time
know?
period. I mean, yes, of that
Yeah,
time
it's
period. Like
weird, and you shouldn't. But like,
honestly, she didn't even have to be high and give mixed signals for in that time period. Them just to be like,
right.
whatever, woman. Like,
Right. Yeah, but
so
she was being real fucking weird because she was
she
high as
was
balls.
clearly fucking high, but also like upset. But anyway, so he jumps on her. And he's like, "What if we just ran away, changing towns every week?" And she's like, "What the fuck are you even talking about right now?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing." Hmm. And I'm like, "And here we go. My wife's a bitch trope, so I can go be with the actress."
And she is actually a bitch though. Like they made
She
her
is, but it's like you specifically wrote her character that way. Like
yeah.
they give us no history on her of like why she has headaches or anything. It's just, hey, here's this bitchy druggie. Of
Yeah.
course he's gonna go for the actress, you know? So then it goes, uh oh, Doc is playing a piano and this guy comes over and he's like, I don't know, he said, you playing somebody, Old Town Road and stuff? And Doc's like, no, it's fucking like Beethoven, you fucking monkey. Like, and then and then it jumps to Billy Fancy Boots is in an opium den and super high, and he comes like into the street and starts shooting everybody. And the everyone's like, "What are we gonna do?" And I thought this part was like kind of cold up. So the sheriff is standing next to Wyatt. He kind of looks at him like, "Hey, bud, you want to help?" And Wyatt's like, "Man, you got this. Have fun."
What the fuck?
I mean, he really was just like, I don't know, fucking ignore him, whatever. Who wants the next hand? Like, so the sheriff's like, all right, guess I got this. And he goes out and he's like, hey bud, you want to give me those guns? And Billy was like, yeah, sure. And he pulls his guns upside down and he goes to hand them to him. But then one goes off and shoots the guy in the stomach and ends up killing him. But Wyatt's right there to knock Billy in the back of the head and start kind of being like, he'll get it. So townspeople are like string him up. He's like, he'll get a fucking trial. But then cowboys are like, fucking let him go now. And then he pulls the gun. I want to say this guy's name is Curly. He pulls the gun on his head and he's like, I'll shoot you first. I may die tonight, but fucking so are you, bitch. And they're like, let's get him. And he's like, he's gonna kill me, guys. Like, back up. And So all the cowboys kind of disperse with like a look of like, we're fucking coming for you. And then it goes to the next scene of jumping to like, it made it seem like it was like weeks later because they're like, oh yeah, the trial happened. The judge said since no one actually witnessed it, no crime. So fucking, oh well, you know? And the marshals come back again to be like, hey, and before they can even say anything, the Earps are like, fuck off. We don't want it. We said no. But you can tell that Virgil isn't quite happy with what's happening. Like he's kind of moody. He's like, I'm going for a fucking walk. And cowboys run through town, almost run over a kid, and he's looking at the. I think she's a teacher. I don't think she's a mom because she had a shit ton of kids. But she had a scar over her eye, which is like a sign of like she's been attacked, and they marked her, and it made him be like, we gotta
God
be
damn
low
it.
then. Yeah. God bless it. We're all gonna be so next thing you know, they're hanging up a sign, no guns in town. And people are like, what the fuck, I can't have my gun in town? And he's like, you won't need your fucking gun in town. We're here now. So and Wyatt comes up and he's like, what the fuck, guys? We said no. And he's like, I got a fucking heart. I can't watch these people fucking suffer and not help anymore. It's not about you, damn it.
Is this when like the whole town shows up with just their guns? He's like, no guns in town, and then like it's
Yeah,
literally
the whole
everyone
town's
with
like yelling at,
their
yeah,
guns,
waving them around, like yelling at him, and
willy
he's
nilly. Jesus Christ, the guns in
yeah,
this. Just
yeah. I mean, he's like, you can have your gun, you can have it in your holster, but you can't fucking have your gun on the main road. So fuck off. And then they're like, we're doing this, and the younger brother's like, we're fucking doing this, and Wyatt's like, man, fuck you guys, for ruining my fucking day, like, and the Virgil takes charge. Then it jumps again. So at this point, Wyatt has not taken the badge. He's pissed off at his brothers, but he's like, fuck you guys. And then it jumps to Doc. Well, Wyatt's walking in, and I want to say it was the bartender that was like, you gotta fucking stop him. He's been up 36 hours straight. He's super struggling. Um, and Doc is playing Curly in a game. He's kind of like the little minion to Billy Fancy Boots and the Cowboys. And he's been playing apparently 36 hours straight. So he's super fucking drunk. He's super pale. He's coughing. But his girl is right there being like, you got this baby. My baby can be up all day, all night. And he
she's
wins
like
the
pouring
hand
him
to get.
more drinks, right?
Oh,
She's
yeah.
like, keep drinking,
Yeah.
bitch.
So he wins. And Curly's like, fuck you, man. 12 hands in a row, you're fucking cheating. And he's like, I don't gotta fucking cheat. So, and um, I want to say Curly was about to start a fire, but because Wyatt was there, he kind of diffused the situation. I think some punches were thrown, but at this point, I had kind of zoned out and whatever. Curly ends up leaving kind of pissy, but he does leave. And Doc starts having a coughing fit and hits the ground. And so, oh no, so Doc is run out because he almost dies. And then Curly's like, what the fuck's wrong with him? And the bartender's like, he got that lung disease because he has tuberculosis. And he's like, well, I hope you die. And then he kind of just is like, give me my guns back. I'm leaving. And then he leaves. And then we see Doc in bed and Kate is his person and listening on the doctor tell him, you could have 2 months or 2 days, but you need to chill the fuck out if you plan on living much longer. And Kate comes in with a cigarette, like, I'm gonna take care of you, baby. Don't even worry about it. Boop. And he's like, damn it, woman, you're the devil. And then she goes down on him. And I'm just like, well, there you go. Doc's going out in glory. Blaze of glory.
I mean, fuck it, right? If you've already got
Yeah.
that disease at that time
I'm
period,
not
like
gonna lie to you, man. Especially if it was cowboy times. If I'm stuck in 1880,
all
fuck
of it.
laying
Give me
around
all of
in
it.
1880. I and look back. Oopsies. Wasn't paying attention to the time at all. So as we were saying, if I was fucking trapped in 1888, I'd do all the drugs. Just fuck it. You weren't living
Um,
past 40 anyways. Like,
well, and apparently everyone's just waving around guns and shooting bullets at all times. So, like,
that's what I'm
why not
saying. Like,
go into it,
even if you weren't terminally ill, good fucking luck out there. So
right?
I would have stayed my happy ass on the East Coast. I'm not even gonna lie. Watching all these westerns and shit, and even just knowing the history of the West, I'm like, I'm so happy people founded it. Don't get me wrong, but like, woo,
I
that
mean,
was fucking rough
they could have
times.
just not and just left it to the people who were already there, but that's another
You
discussion
know
for a
what? That's a
different
good fucking
video.
point. Good fucking
They
point.
didn't have to do all of that and
You're
fuck it
absolutely
all
right.
up.
They should have stayed their happy asses
Yeah, it's just
over there.
stay
Like,
your ass like literally back in England
yeah.
and Spain and wherever else. Just you could have just stayed over there and then we wouldn't have any of this. Anyway, different video topic.
And then odd sound. No. Let's see.
No, you can't do it.
I
Don't
can't.
even go there. Don't even go there.
Okay, so Doc is dying, but he's going out in a blaze of glory. And then he goes back to Wyatt's now walking down the street, and everyone's being like, "They're coming for you, they're coming for you." You know, so he's like, "Give me my fucking badge, man. The cowboys are here, they got guns." The brothers are like, I ain't sitting around no more, damn it. We're going to get them. And this is when the OK Corral happens, and they're walking down the street, and the one sheriff is like, I already took their guns, and they come around the corner, and Curly and the boys are just kind of fucking around and out. He's like dunking his head in water. They're just kind of standing there, and the Earps and Doc around that corner, and Virgil's like, "Put your fucking hands up, give me your guns." And they're like, "Whoa, hey, we don't want to fight." And Wyatt's like, "Oh, you gonna get a fucking fight? You've been picking one. It's here." And then another fucking gunfight, and Curly gets away. He's in the window and he's shooting, and the actress is like, "Oh," she just like over in the
Being
corner.
useless.
Yeah, and then Doc's like, "I got him." He starts shooting in the window, and but Curly gets away. The other three die who were there, and younger, I want to say it was youngest Earp got shot in the back or like in the shoulder. Something he got hit, but I think he's like okay, like
Did
so.
he get
But
hit first or did the older one get hit first?
no, he gets hit first. Youngest gets hit first in this situation, but
Oh.
like they won essentially. But the town is not fully happy with them. Like no one's clapping. They're all kind of like murmuring, like
Well, you just had a shootout in the middle of the fucking town. Like
yeah,
normally it's like one guy shooting
yeah,
crazy, but now you just had like six of you. So
yeah.
you couldn't
So
have
sheriff's
backed it
like,
up
"You're
a
under
little bit.
arrest," and Wyatt's like, "Fucking arrest me, bitch, because you're not doing it today." And the sheriff's like,
You know what? Okay.
"I didn't want to arrest you anyways." So they leave. Um, and then you see the funeral of the cowboys, and Earp sitting on his porch, and he's getting dirt looks from the cowboys, and so you know vengeance is fucking coming down the pipe for him. And so first you see the sheriff, the fancy pants, he runs into actress lady, and he's like, "Oh, I know you like that fucking cowboy, but I'm telling you right now, I'm the man who owns this town, and he's not even going to be existing in a little bit. So you want to be with the one who owns the town," which gives her going, "Oh, the fuck does that mean?" So the boys are in the Earps are like in their saloon, I think, but the girls are at home and they're chit chatting and stuff. And
They're reading tarot cards is what they're doing. I
oh,
remember
are
because
they?
that's yeah, they were reading. She pulled what did she pull? She pulled death and she pulled the tower, which is worse than death, and then she pulled another one and I can't remember what it was. But the cards back then were like they were big. They were big as shit. And one of the other sister-in-laws is like, "I wish you'd learn another card game." Or something like that. And I was like, Jesus Christ, here she is. She's reading your family to filth. She's literally got laid out. Bad shit is gonna happen. And you're like, well, that's not
Yeah,
any fun. Like,
yeah. I won't play this game no more. Which, you know what? Fucking fair enough. If you're turning the cards and my shit's going, I'm
yeah,
like,
if you
nope.
pull the
Leave the
tower,
table. Nope.
yeah, you pull the tower, it's time to make some decisions about whatever is happening in your life.
Yeah. So, uh, first they see someone's knocking. She's like, "Oh, it must be Virgil," and uh, it's the actress, and she's like, "I know I shouldn't fucking be here. But they were fucking talking, and before she could even get that out, another person knocks on the door, and she goes, "Oh, that must be Virgil." And the actress is like, "No," and it's not. It's a guy in a hood, and he starts shooting at the ladies, and then you're like, "Oh shit, his whole family's about to die." And then you see Virgil, he's walking down the street, and then he and then it like cuts to the other two, they're like somewhere else, and then it cuts back to the girl's house, but Virgil's like falling in the door now, which made me go, what happened to the shooting of the women? They all
He
survived
just like
apparently.
ran off. I remember he had a
Yeah, it's like,
shotgun. He shot the two shots that he had, like the two buck shots, and then he just like
just
ran
left.
off. And he had like a like
Yeah, he had a full cloak on, and so the women survived. They but Virgil, he's stabbed like multiple or shot something. He's hurt bad.
some
And
in his
then
hand, his arm,
yeah,
something.
everyone's in the house, and you're finding out that he's gonna lose this fucking arm pretty much. And they're like, no.
His
And
wife is
Wyatt's like,
yelling.
he's
His
like,
wife
we
is
got this.
mad.
And then Wyatt's like, what do I do? And Virgil's like, just fuck off. Just
Yeah,
fuck off. That's what you could do. But then I was like, offensive, Virgil. This is your fucking fault. You're the one who wanted to be sheriff in the first place. So Wyatt then runs out. The little brother had run out first because he was just like, I just fuck these cowboys. And then Wyatt went after him. And then the little brother is in the saloon. He's playing pool, and he gets shot through a window. And then Wyatt comes in on that, and they're like doing surgery. He's like, hold him still. And everyone's screaming, and their dog is barking. I'm like, where's the fucking dog come from? Haven't seen a dog the whole movie.
and they
Now the
start
dog's in the
yelling.
saloon just barking.
And they start
Like,
yelling about it. They're yelling about the fucking dog the whole time. This man
yeah,
is bleeding out on the table and he's yelling,
this
"Get the dog out of here." You can't even see the dog.
you
Like the
see him
you
one time. They show one clip. He's a hound dog, and then that's it. And but it was just like it's just like that director must have been like, this is. I need something else. The
we need
chaos
more
is too much.
chaos. Yeah.
I need more chaos. What do we got? What do we got? Ideas, you know? And they're
Fucking
like, let's
dog
find
barking.
that hound dog. And he was like, fine, put him on the piano. Like, so the doc's like, I can't get the fucking bullet out. And he's like, he goes to the wife to be like, I'm sorry. And then uh it is kind of a really fucked up because earlier the younger brother had been saying, like, do you think God's real? And do you think I read in one of the spirituality books that you see a light? And so while he's dying, he goes, you know what? It's not fucking real. I don't see shit. And then he goes,
Yeah, and then he dies.
and then he dies. And I'm like, fucking dude, what? Those are your last words to your
I don't
brother?
see I can't see shit. Just
Right?
conks out.
Damn. So then, everyone's very sad. And then it's their turn to have a funeral. And he walks up to Fancy Boots Billy, and he's like, I'm just letting you know now it's done. And Billy's like, fuck off
If you
then.
say
Like,
so.
yeah, get off my porch. Cool, bro. And but then they ride away. He's like, go ahead and meet them on the train and kill them all. And so you see him putting his brother on the train with all the women, and the two, Curly and someone else, pull up, and they're like, and the one guy's like, I'm getting fucking Virgil. And he's like, that's fine, because hey, the wife's name was like Maddie. He's like, hey Maddie, where's fucking Wyatt? And Wyatt's like, I'm fucking right here, right behind you. Blah blah. And they ride off, waving. And so now oh shit, Wyatt Earp is back, baby. He out of retirement. Y'all about to fucking eat shit. Because he like puts his boot on Curly's neck, and Curly's like, don't kill me. And he's like, oh, I'm not gonna kill you. You're gonna go tell everyone else they're about to fucking die. And earlier, because they had attacked the women, some of like three of the cowboys were like, we ain't in that. I don't play that shit. So we're on your side now. So now you see him, right, which is so like you would trust that. But anyways, him, Doc, and the guys who quit are now montage of just killing cowboys, just montage, riding horses. And then they're in the woods. And I was just like, this just feels like a terrible place to try to ambush somebody. Like everyone can hide. So they're like pinned down, and Billy Fancy Boots is like, hey, I got some in the back for you too. And Wyatt just stands up and is like, no. And just marches out in the river. And Billy Fancy Boots is like, and no one can apparently shoot Wyatt. Like,
Nobody can shoot anybody. It's
no one
like
can
they're
shoot.
just, they're like stormtroopers. Like what the fuck?
Billy
You have
marches out
buckshot.
to him, shooting at him, point blank. Miss, 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 miss. Wyatt takes a shotgun and goes, clack, clack. Billy done. Billy's dead now. But now Ringo is like, oh, it's his posse now. And he's like a psychopath, and they've kind of set it up that he's just as smart as Doc, he's just as talented as Doc, and but he's fucking crazy. So now you have crazy after you. Um, and they end up at this because they're also on the run while they're like chasing the cowboys. They end up at this farm because Doc is getting sicker. Uh, and the one cowboy gets dragged back, and he's like, Ringo's gonna meet you in the woods. And the actress, they have a scene where the actress is like pulling up in her car, and Fancy Pants Boy got shot apparently, and the sheriff is with the cowboy. So you're like, oh, you were fucking dirty the whole time. And then she's like, he's like, oh, that must have been Jerry. He left an hour ago. He must have fucking ransacked your caravan. Sorry about that. And she's like, you're not sorry. This place is ugly, and you're ugly. And Billy, because he loved Fancy Pants, is like, I'm out. Well, his name wasn't Billy. I don't know. But gay guy was like, I'm out. You shot my lover. I'm fucking out. And they're like, we don't fucking need you anyways. And he just kind of disappears after that. He didn't join Wyatt or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't show back up. He just
He
leaves.
just leaves.
I mean,
So
probably the smartest move,
yeah,
to be
well, fair
honest.
enough.
But
He touches
he's
his
gone.
hand and he's like, nope, can't do this anymore. I'm out. And he leaves. And so they're like, oh, we're getting fucking Earp. And she rides off. She ends up at Earp's farm where he's hiding out just to get water for her horses, and then right out of town. And they just have this moment where he's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I know. And then that's it. Just staring at each other. And she rides off. And he's like, all right. He goes to Doc and he's like, do you think I can beat him? And Doc's like, nah, you can't. You're not going to be able to beat him. He's like, well, fuck it. This is what I got, though. So Doc's laying in bed dying, and he goes off to the woods. And they're like, he's up yonder. And then it shows Wrigley, and he looks and he thinks it's Wyatt coming. But it turns out it's Doc. Fucking, I'll be your Huckleberry. And then they're staring it down. He's like, fucking do it. And he's like, you fucking do it. And he's like, but damn, right in the head. And then Wrigley's down. And then Wyatt comes running. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, I wasn't that sick.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I think I may have exaggerated a little bit.
Yeah. And then you get another montage of more cowboys fucking dying, riding horses, dying. And then I want to say after that, then you end up in a sanitarium or something. Like the vengeance is over. Everyone he wanted to kill is dead. Um, and then Doc, you end up in a sanatorium. So I was like, oh shit, did the wife end up in the sanatorium? But it's just Doc. He's like dying.
I think
And
a sanatorium and a sanitarian are not the same thing. I
oh
think a
no,
sanatorium is just what they called like a hospital. Because a
yeah,
sanitarium is like a mental
yeah,
hospital. Yeah. So I think a
I'll take it.
sanatorium is probably their word for just like fucking hospital.
Yeah, super sick people, and it's just like hospice care. And
Like the
they have
TB
their
ward.
last conversation. He's trying to play poker with him. He's like, fuck you, get out of my fucking room, get out of here, I hate you. He's like, you don't fucking hate me. Here's your cards. And he's like, no, seriously, go live your life, dude. I'm done. I don't want you here when I take my last breath. He's like, tearful goodbyes. He walks out. He had given him a book, so he like looks at it and he's like, and then he dies. And it's a book about Wyatt Earp and his adventures, or like Doc Holliday, something like that. And he's like, so then he goes. Then next you would think you'd be seeing his wife next. No, you see Miss Actress Pants, and him barging in, being like, I love you, baby. And she's like, I love you too.
We've had a
And they're gonna
total of 4 conversations,
right, and they're
and
gonna
I'm
run off
married.
and they're dancing in the streets. And then the little voice comes up and they live, I mean, they lived 47 years together and he dies in 1929. And then it goes that it's Maddie died of an overdose, apparently.
Yeah.
But you don't know that until this point. And then it goes over like some of the other cowboys end up dying like a week later, a day later, shit like that. And then it's over. That's it. That was the fucking movie
That
Tombstone.
was one of the
And
most boring
it did
movies
not
of
need to
history.
be uh fucking 2 hours long. Ever. Like
No,
it did not make sense.
no.
Sorry, I gotta plug in my computer. It's dying. Oh no. That's the fun. There it is. Got it. All right. So now there's a shit ton of history. Okay. Just on these, every single man in this individually, especially Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp, have I mean, they could be like their own episodes on any given podcast. Also, what I've noticed is white men love them some World War II and fucking cowboys. Just a shit ton of history podcasts. I mean, there's a lot. So I just kept it to what the movie focused on, and then just to try to condense that because there's no way I could fit everyone's history all into this. We'd
Mm-mm.
be here for fucking another 2 hours. So the movie itself is actually very historically accurate. Uh, there are some things that are not totally true, but some things that you wouldn't think were true were actually fucking true. Like that scene where he's missing and Wyatt takes him down with the shotgun fucking happened,
Jesus,
according to Wyatt Earp.
were they just all bad shots Well, I mean, I guess the
Well, the
guns
guns
were
weren't
not
terrible.
accurate. Yeah.
Or maybe you just get real fucking lucky sometimes. But yeah, apparently that was a very true scenario that did happen to him. So, Tombstone was founded by a man named Ed. He found some so well when he went looking in that area for wealth, people were like, "You're gonna find your tombstone," and so then he ended up finding silver and building the town and decided, "Ha ha! I found my tombstone." So that's how I got its name. And and it was actually very populated. Because by 1880 they had 27,000 residents, which is
Jeez.
huge for
Yeah,
back
that's
then.
a big town.
Huge, and it grew quickly, like very quickly. This was like the boom town of boom towns. Um, and it was mostly set up so one of the things that like the movie kind of set you up that like Wyatt Earp had retired or and their family had just shown up, and that's not the case. They had actually lived there a couple years at this point, and they'd always been lawmen. Like they inherited from their father in a different county and then moved here, and then so there was no retirement for Wyatt Earp. He was always at some point a lawman or helping the law. Um, and so when and the Cowboys were not a gang. That was never a thing. There were cowboys, and they did do shitty things because they usually were like doing ranch work and stuff in and out of different areas, constantly nomadic, and could be generally very shitty people. But they would sometimes team up if it like benefited them in a moment, but there was no like it's not like the fucking Akuza, like they tried to make it seem like this whole entity was it wasn't. And there was no red sashes or anything like that. Um, but in this specific town of Tombstone, you had the ranchers, so the cowboys and the ranchers, and they were against the rich people who were moving in and kind of messing up shit, which was the Earps and that side of things, who were more political. And the OK Corral scene, they pretty much kept it very historically accurate, other than they like made it a little bit longer than it would have actually happened.
Mm.
Uh, everything would have taken like 30 seconds, but they did kill 3 people. They said those exact lines, like according to the tales, you know?
Mm.
So they kept that one super accurate. Um, but Wyatt and Doc did get charges of murder and did get arrested, but they were acquitted. Um, because it was the fucking West. Uh, and then they actually so in the scene where they kept it where people were muttering and stuff, it was kind of like that. Like the event kind of split the town. Some were on the rancher side and some were on the herp side. Um, but then so this movie made it seem like maybe a couple weeks later they got all their vengeance in one night. That's not exactly like they never went for the women. Virgil did get stabbed or shot in the back in the street like 5 weeks after the OK Corral, and then a couple months later, and he did lose his function of his arm. And then a couple months later, Morgan gets shot and he did die. And then Wider does like they leave with Virgil, him and the women. And Wider does go on a revenge ride, but he killed 4 people. It wasn't like what they make it seem like he takes out all of fucking Arizona, like hundreds of cowboys just fucking die, and that's not the case. He went after the 4 main people, Billy Fancy Boots, Curly, and he did kill them. But Ringo is a almost a completely different person. Like, and he wasn't really involved in this. He's just a famous cowboy they wanted to stick in, and then he died of suicide. Not like Doc didn't attack him in the woods. Yeah,
Yikes.
he was just a known depressive and shot
Aw.
himself in the woods. So he
That
did
would
die of a headshot though. So they
that would
kept it
probably
kind of
be
accurate.
one of the worst times in the world to have like clinical depression.
Oh, to have
Can you
any,
imagine?
my God, like so. Uh, okay, so I was curious about Wyatt's love life. Like, did he even have a wife?
I was
Who
literally
was
about
this
to
actor?
ask.
Did the whole actress thing happen? So, yes, kind of. So Maddie was a longtime lover. She was a prostitute, and they'd been together for like a decade, like a while. And then they moved to Tombstone together. She was an addict on laudanum. She did have headaches. Um, and Wyatt was kind of done of her being an addict. So he meets this actress who was not loved. She was seen as a hussy, like, but
I
he
think
loved
most
her.
actresses at the time like that it was kind
Yeah,
of adjacent to sex work.
but in this movie, they made it seem like she was fucking like Scarlett O'Hara, like
Yeah.
and it wasn't like that. So, but he did. He fell in love with her there, and he spent most of his time with her. So when he sent Maddie off on the train, he's like, "I'll write you," and never fucking wrote her, never saw her again. And then years later, she would die of an overdose. But they were never actually officially married. He actually only officially married one woman who only lived like a month after the wedding, and then she died of like typhoid fever or some shit like that. And then he ended up with Maddie. And then he ended up with the actress, and they were together for 47 years, but they never had children. She died before him. And yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I mean, he stayed loyal. Well, I don't know if he stayed loyal to her, but
Yeah, I don't know if we can really say that.
he picked her. So yeah. And then he didn't go to Doc's bedside. Like they said goodbye to each other maybe a couple years after Tombstone, and that was it. Like Doc died by himself. Doc did have tuberculosis. He was a Southern gentleman. He was a dentist. And Kate and him were like that was how their relationship was. She was a prostitute. They never married, but she would call herself his one and only wife. And they would spend his life together. Um, and he died of tuberculosis. Like, but he was seen as a way better gunslinger than Wyatt Earp was. So yeah, that's the history of it. They actually did pretty good. Actually, I did learn the writer wanted to get it so historically accurate that he took too long, so he got fired for going over time. But they said that the movie was such a hit, it kind of redeemed him.
So is that why it's 2 hours long? Is
Yeah,
because
this
he was,
guy was really passionate about getting the history right.
dog, you were just fucking autistic. Their special interest was Wyatt Earp and Dog Holiday. Like, you made a 2 hour long special interest film.
Oh yeah. And you know what? Men loved it. It's still seen as one of the best westerns ever created.
Oh
And
God, I don't want to see bad ones.
right,
I
like
don't
if
want to see the bad ones.
that's the best. That's the creme de la creme right there. So I would love to at some point find a true story from like a 50s movie or something like that. Just because sometimes like watching those to see the differences in old Hollywood, but I
Yeah,
don't know if I'd want it to be a Western. To
no.
actually have to watch a spaghetti Western. Like,
Please don't make me watch another Western. Please don't. I barely like was able to pay attention to this one at all. Like I
no, but you do have to check out Winona Earp. It it was
okay.
on Netflix. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure all the seasons at this point. It got canceled, I think, a couple years ago. But
Yeah. I'll get to it eventually. Right now I'm watching the new Grease show,
oh, I
which is
thought about watching that one. I don't know how I
fabulous.
feel about it.
I didn't know how I felt about it either, and then I saw like a TikTok of from the actual production company of like one of their songs, and I was like, hold on, why do you sound so good? So then I started watching it, and I'm like really enjoying it. But I love
Other
musicals. It's 100% full musical, like
ooh, I do love a
everything.
good musical.
And it's one of the I can't remember. There's two different kinds of musicals. There's a musical where they're singing, but nobody else knows that they're singing. And then there's a musical where the other characters know that a song is happening and it like actually like physically moves the plot along because all of the characters are involved in it. This one is that one. Everybody knows that they're all breaking out into song. They're all involved in it. It's like an actual storytelling device with everyone, not just like here's a song. Like
Yeah. Uh, you need to watch The Great on
I started
Hulu.
that when it first came out. And then I don't know why I fell off of it, but I did, and I need to start watching it again because it was very funny when I
Oh, it's
first
so
watched
good.
it.
But this season, I think it's the fourth season. But anyway, wrecked me. It wrecked me. But they did it so brilliantly that I was sitting there like, oh my God, like you gotta watch it.
All
They
right.
did an amazing job. The writing and stuff with it, I was like, wow. And it's still hilarious and crushing all at the same time. Like,
God, I love period pieces, man.
oh, I
I
love
love
it.
period pieces so much. They
We're
are my
really gonna
absolute
that
favorite.
might be next week, guys. We might do Elizabeth or something because I just love a good period piece. Like,
See, yeah, and I haven't watched. There was like the what's that movie with Kristen Stewart, Spencer? I haven't watched that yet
I have not
either.
watched that one yet.
That one looks really good. There's a lot of them that came out recently. There's been like a resurgent of period pieces. I think you can blame that on Bridgerton, and I'm not mad about it.
I do think, but I also love Virgin, and they did such a great job with
Oh, Queen
So
Charlotte.
yes, they did a
Don't,
good
don't,
job. It was
don't.
good.
B literally came upstairs right as I was finishing the last episode and was like, "Why are you fucking crying?" And I was like, you don't get it. They were under the bed, okay? They were under
Right?
the
He
bed.
came back to
They
her
were under the
like,
bed. And there are babies
no,
now.
talking, go.
And then he told me
Like,
I needed to do some push-ups and be a gangster. So
no, that was uh it was so good. I
I
love
hope we get
Bridgerton too. I
more.
can't wait for the next season of that.
Yeah, I
Like,
hope we get more like I hope we don't just follow the kids. I hope we get more of like the adult stories because that is so interesting. Not even just the Queen story, but like Violet's story and Miss Danbury, like their stories. I was like, I want
oh
to know
yeah,
everyone's story.
I do. And honestly, I want to see more of Charlotte because I do think there's a huge chunk there where from her
How did
younger
we get
self
here?
being
Right.
so more hopeful, so more like let's love each other, let's do these things, let's to
I
being
can
where she is
literally
now.
heal you.
Yeah, being where she sorrows, prayers, like she's
Like,
very no
yeah.
bullshit now, and like, but that softness will come out with fucking Henry,
Yeah.
like, so
But
that would be
nobody
cool to
else.
see. But I do want to see where the hardening happens. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get like a season 2 and 3 as successful as it was, and they got a lot of years to play with. As this season, she was like what 17 to
Yeah.
currently where she's like fucking 60, like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope they keep it. Which I don't know why they wouldn't keep it running. I mean, Shonda Rhimes can get whatever she wants.
Oh yeah,
So,
fucking queen of writing right there. Like, I don't think I've ever not liked a Shonda Rhimes show. Uh,
I don't think I have either. I don't think I've ever ran into one that I was like, not for me.
I have had ones I just haven't watched, like that political one she had. What was it called?
I don't remember.
But the lady was like with the president. She was like up there, and it was very scandalous.
Scandal.
Scandal. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one either, but it's just because I think about politics every single day. I don't want to
Oh
watch
yeah,
fake
I
politics.
yeah, I've never been really into the more political ones, so I just wasn't interested in it. I never saw the murder one.
How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah, How to Get Away with Murder, but everyone loved that one too.
I
And I
watched like
probably would like that one. I like mystery crime shows.
I
So,
watched a couple of episodes, but it was another one of those that I just fell off. If I'm not in the perfect frame of mind to continue a series when I first watch it, the chances of me going back and finishing
it's
it
rough,
are not high.
real hard.
I
Yeah.
that's why it takes me 30 minutes to pick out what I'm going to watch at all because if I'm not into it at that time, I'm
It's honestly why I I don't have these picked out that far in advance, because it honestly I
and
we
that's
should
fine.
honestly change the title of the show to more like ADHD special interest night. Like, because that's
Right.
honestly the frame of mind I'm in. Anytime I pick these, I'm just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm googling during the movie of being like, well, was that true? Was that the truth? Like, So then,
Right. Well, that's how I do my other podcast too. That's why I'm in control of that one 100% and I'm just telling my best friend these historical or weird stories because if I'm not into it, it takes me literally weeks to write an episode. If I'm
oh,
into
yeah.
it, I can write an episode in one day. Like
I have
I
to
have
have
to
I have
play.
to be last down to the last minute, and I have to be really fucking into it. And which was that's why it was hard for this finding the truth in this one, because I wasn't that fucking interested in the truth in this one.
I
So it's just
legitimately
kind of like,
almost texted you halfway through to go, "Are you sure?"
are you sure? I think we picked a bad one.
Are you sure? Is it just the whole time I was thinking, is it just me? Like, am I the
It was
only
not just
one
you. I
on
was
earth?
sitting there like, Jesus, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because B was like, "Oh, it's such a good movie. It's a classic. It's a classic." And I was like,
I
And
don't
then
get
he
it,
asked
man.
me, we rate movies out of 10 every time we see a new movie, and he was like, "All right, what do you rate it out of 10?" And I said a 3. Like,
Yeah,
this is worse
honestly,
than Morbius. This
I
ranks
gotta give
worse
it a
than
like,
Morbius for me.
oh yeah. I was way more into that movie. And
And
everyone
I
shit on
hated
it.
it.
And I was kind of like, oh, that was pretty
No,
good.
I hate it. I hated Morbius. I gave it like a
That's
5.
what I'm saying. Like, I could come out of Morbius going, I don't know, I was pretty entertained. I came out of this going, I could see where you could be entertained by it, but
I can't.
not
I don't
like
understand
not
it.
for me.
I don't understand. I can't see.
Like,
Please, please point me to the interest because it is vanished.
I think it's just I think men just like seeing other men get punched in the mouth. Like that,
So
that's where I think it's at for
Watch
them.
Creed.
Like,
I'm way more interested in Creed than this stupid bullshit. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Doesn't like what you like, but I'm just saying objectively this movie is awful.
I won't play it awful because three to me is not awful. One and
Oh,
two is
that's
where I'm like,
sad.
look, man, don't even fucking waste your time. Three,
I
it's a meh. It was a meh for me. I'm not saying you have terrible taste if you love it, but it definitely was a meh. Like,
see, I also weigh like production value. Like production value was pretty good on this one.
it was pretty good.
A 1 to 2 for me is like the worst movie on Shudder or like Tubi that you can possibly find. Like bad
Velocipaster.
writing. See, and even those are
I love
niche.
Velocipaster. I
Those are
love them.
so niche and so weird that I like them. But if you're just bad, like there's so many
Yeah.
B-rate, D-rate horror
Sharknado.
movies. Not even those, like actual horror movies that we've watched when we had Shudder, because Shudder is like $5 a month or something. We had it for a while, and we were just going through and just watching whatever on it. Some of them are so, when I say they're so bad, so they literally look like they were filmed on a camera from like the 80s and they came out in like 2002. Like
Yeah.
they're so bad. That's like a 1 or a 2. We're
Yeah.
absolutely never again. A 3 is I absolutely hate this. This is awful, but the production value, all right. And you had Val Kilmer before he got all weird. I
I
all
mean,
right.
it's pretty stacked. It's a stacked cast, the
Right.
stacked talent. They definitely put, I mean, it's a 93 movie, but the effects are there. You definitely don't watch it and be like, this is a fucking joke, right? Like, but it's because they use practical effects, and practical effects always stand up better than fucking CGI.
Agree to disagree.
All right. And on that note, we'll see you guys next week.